We convene today at a moment of crisis, a time when surging tides of anti-Semitism, inhumanity, and violence threaten the foundations of free societies everywhere. In Washington, Ottawa, Kyiv, Jerusalem, and capitals across the world, we must join together and strengthen the common architecture of values that unites people of goodwill in the mission of building a more humane fellowship with humankind. That cause was the life's work of my grandfather, and it is the life's work of Irwin Cotler.
Since my father's passing, the Lantos Foundation for Human Rights has honored his legacy by celebrating those clear-eyed individuals who recognize and fight for the right thing, regardless of the prevailing pressures or political fads.
You know, I used to have a history professor in college who used to end class by saying the same thing all the time. He would say, remember, the world will not get better on its own. Nothing gets better. Nothing changes for the better. Human rights are not advanced unless good people, like-minded people, come together and fight to make it a reality. And Professor Cotler has been a towering example of a human rights advocate that has made such a difference and saved the lives of so many people. So I am honored to be here, and I look forward to our paths continuing to cross, and look forward to working with you in the future and helping uplift human rights all around the world.
Today we are addressing some very huge problems, and to us, I would say that it's critical. It's on the TV. It's what I'm going to go wrestle with the very second I leave and open up my phone and see all the messages that are covering what's happening in Gaza. But we can't lose sight that the only way that we make a lot of these problems go away is to pull together, work together, and ensure that people around the world can embrace, understand, appreciate, and fight for the dignity of the human, and to really express, enjoy, and cherish our humanity.
As we meet today to honor Irwin, my thoughts are drawn to another hero, the Swedish humanitarian Raoul Wallenberg. There is a simple and very powerful memorial to Raoul Wallenberg that sits just across from the United Nations building in New York. It is a sculpture of Raoul Wallenberg's briefcase that sits on cobblestones that once stood in the Budapest ghetto. Who would pick up the briefcase left behind? Who would step forth to carry on Wallenberg's mission of rescue and hope? Tom Lantos and Irwin Cotler, each in his own way, took up that briefcase. They followed in the footsteps of Raoul, and they chose to roll onto their own shoulders the duty to be their brother's keepers. Irwin Cotler has carried that briefcase with extraordinary dignity, determination, intelligence, and integrity for lo these many decades. And it is in recognition of all that he has so nobly carried across the years that it gives me great pleasure to bestow today on him the Lantos Human Rights Prize for 2023.
Congressman Lantos was not only an inspirational role model for me, but he was an inspirational role model for all who knew him. Not only the first Holocaust survivor to serve in Congress, sometimes forgotten, he also fought in the anti-Nazi resistance, saved, among many others, by Raoul Wallenberg, who demonstrated, and we would talk about this, who demonstrated how one person with the compassion to care and the courage to act can confront evil, prevail, and transform history. A lifelong lesson for each and all of us in these very troubling times when Tom Lantos's voice and vision itself is so desperately missing and which we always have to recall and act upon. Anti-Semitism is toxic to democracies. It's an assault on our common humanity, and it requires a constituency of conscience to combat it. It cannot be combated by Jews alone. And I say this in the shadow of the recent historical inflection moment, that we must be now the guardians of our common humanity, that we must be the protectors of humanity, that we must come together as a constituency of conscience at a governmental level, at a congressional level, at a civil society level, in common cause, as I said, on behalf of our common humanity, and with this sense of urgency, moral urgency, that Tom Lantos represented in all his life. And the least we can do is act upon that historical inspiration. Thank you.